guys, welcome to another episode of my Greek Pantheon series. Today we will be discussing one of my favorite characters, Medusa. Okay, so the cool thing about Medusa, let me share screen. Actually, I'm going to give you an overview of Medusa, and then we're going to get into the cool stuff about her. All right, Medusa was one of three Gorgons, and there are a couple versions of the story. One of the versions was Medusa was always a Gorgon. She was the daughter of two of the older sea gods, and she was one of the three sisters, and she's the only one that was mortal. That version is like the least supported. In most versions of Medusa, her and both of her sisters were actually mortal, and they were beautiful women. All of them were. And Medusa was actually trying to become a priestess of Athena's temple. And she was in Athena's temple when Poseidon showed up and I guess was visiting Athena. Not sure what he was doing in the temple, but he saw Medusa and he was stricken with her, and he ended up against Medusa's will. Athena was furious that the act had taken place in her temple at all, because Athena, if you don't know, is a virginal goddess, and so most of her priests, all of her priestesses are actually expected to be virginal. So she was angry that her temple had been defiled. So she decided to punish Medusa for transgressing against her and turned her into a Gorgon. When her two sisters stood up to defend her, they too became Gorgons. We'll talk about our sisters in a different episode because right now we're focused on Medusa. But basically, she got turned into a Gorgon. She immediately went to live on an island by herself and avoided mankind, which is definitely not the choice that her sisters made. So of the three Gorgons, she was the only one that chose peace and avoidance because she didn't want to get involved with men, and she was, really upset. Then reasons, Athena helped Perseus go fight Medusa and kill her. So Athena cursed her, and then Athena gave Perseus the tools he needed in order to go slay her. That then the legend goes that once she was slain and her head was cut off, she actually gave birth out of her head, popped a giant with a golden sword and a Pegasus. So Chrysaor, which I'll have to look up when I cover Chrysaor, I'll look up the pronunciation of his name, and then Pegasus. Then through Perseus's journey, her blood actually created several different things. There are red corals around Greece, and it's said that when Perseus laid her head down, her blood gave birth to the red corals. A couple other monsters were born after droplets of her blood. So a lot of stories revolve around not really her fertility, because obviously she was like post-mortem when a lot of the things she created were created, but they talk about like how she was a creature of like creation even after her head had been removed. So Medusa is like about life, because the mortality that she didn't, or the immortality that she didn't have in her life, created life as she went on. Anyway, it's really interesting. Here's the thing though, I love Medusa, and I'm actually working on a retelling, and I feel like Athena was really the bad guy in this, because the kicker, after Perseus killed Medusa, he showed up, met Athena, and then presented Medusa's head to Athena, and she put it on her shield to use as a weapon, because still, if the Gorgon's eyes looked at you, it would turn you into stone, even after Medusa was dead. How awful is that? Like, how awful is that? Like, I generally like Athena's character, but she is just so freaking awful to Medusa. for no reason. And it's like a huge thing because there are stories, or I guess some historians believe that Medusa was actually like a real person, because in some stories it shows that she's actually from like Libya. Um, and so they wonder if she was like of African origins and she might have been an actual princess because maybe her snakes were actually braids. But that's another thing that I can't find enough historical proof for to be considered valid in my video, but it is an interesting like thought. But I really hate how she's like just a victim of everything and she chooses peace, and yet the goddess Athena and other gods are still just gunning for her like it's her fault just for being intelligent and attractive. Anyway, I love Medusa and I think that she's like, yeah, she's an important story and she's an important character to like focus on and know her story. But okay, so that's me being all preachy and stuff because I love Medusa. But okay. Well, and not that I want to like super get into it, but I do think it would be a good idea to mention that a lot of modern women are getting tattoos of Medusa to represent their own surviving of certain events. I'm not saying that's what all Medusa tattoos represent, but it is what some of them represent, which is really interesting. Um, because I guess she was a survivor up until Perseus cut her head off. So, okay, throwing that out there. Again, love that character. Working on a retelling. When I'm done with my retelling, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to throw that up on my Patreon account. So, if you guys have a buck to spare, okay, this is not meant to be a plug. You do you. Okay, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. Take care.